In the mid-2000s, Imagineers were left with a challenge. Tomorrowland at Tokyo Disneyland needed a new attraction, and guests were practically demanding a Monsters Inc. presence in the resort. How do you take a franchise, one that is 3 years old and already has a relatively lackluster dark ride in California, add interactive elements, a concept that has seemingly been done to death at hundreds of theme parks around the world already, and make it feel fresh and unique? Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek was their answer to this problem. And it worked. At a cost of 10 billion yen or 123 million US dollars, this was no ordinary interactive dark ride. It was a new experience built from the ground up, packed to the brim with detailed animatronics, special effects, and charm that easily makes it one of the best interactive dark rides in the world. And for a time, dethroned Pooh's Honey Hunt as the most popular attraction at the Tokyo Disney Resort. Unlike the other Monsters Inc. ride, Ride and Go Seek is situated inside a beautiful replica of the factory from the film, and goes above and beyond in typical Tokyo Disney Resort fashion. But an attraction based on Monsters Inc. might seem odd in Tomorrowland, especially in Tokyo's version of the Magic Kingdom. But with additions such as the Pan-Galactic Pizza Port, a restaurant that features a large audio animatronic pizza-making machine operated by a whimsical alien creature named Tony Salaroni, Tokyo Disneyland's Tomorrowland was never intended to be a showcase of an idealistic tomorrow. Instead, it opted for a more science fiction fantasy theme, which better ties together the various outlandish and vaguely futuristic attractions throughout the land. Opening on April 15, 2009, Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek is a relatively new addition to the resort. But long before Monsters set up shop, this area of Tokyo Disneyland was populated by an attraction known as Meet the World. Opening with the park in 1983, Meet the World is a rather prestigious attraction that most Western Disney park goers have never heard of. Designed by famed Imagineer Claude Coates, who worked on Pirates of the Caribbean, It's a Small World, Carousel of Progress, and Horizons, to name a few, this 19-minute-long animatronic show explored the history of Japan with a specific focus on their engagement with the outside world. Despite being planned as the Japanese analogue of the American Hall of Presidents attraction, Meet the World shared many similarities with Disney's iconic Carousel of Progress at Walt Disney World. The show featured a theme written by the Sherman Brothers and was presented in a rotating theatre. But interestingly, Meet the World was backwards. The Carousel of Progress has guests facing inwards, rotating around an inner circle of stages, whereas Meet the World instead rotated guests on the inner circle and had the stages on the outside. This layout meant less audience capacity, but a larger stage area to work with. The elephant in the room, though, is that certain politically sensitive issues, such as World War II, were noticeably underemphasized in the show. It did mention that there were some dark days between the Meiji Restoration and the Japan of today, but this left Disney management feeling nervous about possible reactions from guests, with such a dramatic and historically significant conflict being summarized as dark days. Despite all of this, a version of this attraction was at some point planned to go to Epcot, but this ultimately never happened. Meet the World was one of the few attractions in the park that actually focused on Japan, because the owners of Tokyo Disneyland, Oriental Land Company, specifically wanted the park to highlight the American way of life and the American parks. The attraction eventually closed on June 30th, 2002, and was demolished to make way for Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek in 2006. The film release of Monsters Inc. in 2001 was extremely popular in Japan, but despite this, Monsters had next to no presence at the Tokyo parks. Understanding that the Japanese public had a desire to embrace the warm, friendly characters that populated the film, Imagineers focused on the storytelling aspect of the film to help it fit into Tokyo's Magic Kingdom. They took inspiration from traditional dark rides such as Peter Pan's Flight and Snow White's Scary Adventures, but wanted to raise the bar on the experience, putting an emphasis on placing guests within the story instead of being passive observers to the happenings around them, which is where the experience of Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek begins. Our story begins where Monsters Inc. left off. Humans are no longer considered harmful, and laughter is discovered to be far more powerful than screams. Walking up to the Monsters, Inc. show building, you're greeted with a new slogan: "It's laughter we're after." Various posters alongside the exterior inform guests about Flashlight Tag, an upcoming activity that's fun for the whole family and is taking place right within the factory. This introduces the ride's interactive system that is similar to what you've likely experienced on Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, but there are some important differences that we'll get into, making this a unique experience in itself. Entering the queue, you're immediately immersed into the world of Monsters, Inc., with an incredible recreation of the facility's lobby. Above guests are two immense murals depicting the human world and another showcasing the factory and its workers. Throughout the queue, there are many screens introducing the flashlight mechanics of the ride. After learning how to play, guests are ushered into security vehicles that have been equipped with individual flashlights, and you enter the inner sanctums of the factory. It should be noted that the entire experience is narrated in Japanese. Sully has brought Boo back into Metropolis in hopes that she will join in the flashlight tag. Intending to explore rather than play, Boo lets out a giggle, which makes the lights flicker. Turning the corner, guests find Randall has returned from the human world and is determined to capture Boo to extract her screams. Your vehicle moves to face a window overlooking all of Monstropolis at night. Mike stands near a giant switch where he pushes it down, turning off all of the lights in the city and the factory, and the flashlight tag begins. To play, you need to direct your flashlight towards the helmets with the Monsters, Inc. logo scattered around the factory. Upon hitting one of these helmets, it'll light up and a ding sound will be heard. Unlike Buzz Lightyear, guests don't collect points, but instead the flashlights trigger many practical effects throughout the attraction. We won't go through every effect because there are hundreds of them, but we will cover the most notable. Turning into the bathroom, Sully can be heard searching for Boo with his flashlight. Hitting the helmet near Sully reveals Boo underneath some towels alongside Randall, who is hiding nearby. Heading past Ross's office, we enter the laugh floor, which has been renovated with bright and colourful decorations. Mike can be found stuck in a jam between a hanging door and the arms of Smitty from the film, who is desperately trying to pull him back as Needleman fiddles with the control panel. Leaving the laugh floor, we again see Randall, who has tried to capture Boo with some cupcakes, but they're instead being eaten by another monster. You'll find as well that many monsters featured within the film are featured within this ride. We now leave the factory and enter the streets of Monstropolis, which is huge, where it appears that the entire city is also taking part in the game. Here you're overwhelmed with many visual gags and effects, including a disappearing Randall achieved with a simple Pepper's Ghost effect. It's difficult to explain the sheer scale of this scene, but it is immensely impressive. Leaving the streets, we enter Harryhausen's sushi restaurant, featured in the Monsters, Inc. film. Boo can be found playing in the takeout boxes, and strangely enough, Mike can be found with his girlfriend Celia, where he's apparently completely okay with guests repeatedly dunking his partner in water. We then re-enter the streets with more fun effects, such as a giant monster attempting to hide behind underpants, and Mike being electrocuted by a lamp after another monster lifts him into the air. I like to believe this is revenge from Celia. We turn the corner to find Sully worried. Boo is nowhere to be found, but what appears to be her helmet is hanging nearby. He calls out her name and we move back into the factory. Here we find Boo hiding near some trash and Randall looming overhead. But before he can grab her, Mike appears, launching Randall into the trash compactor behind him. The rest of the attraction features Randall being mashed and mangled by the trash compactor, where he emerges at the end in his pure form, a cube. Mike reactivates the lights in the city, and the main characters bid farewell to Boo in what is one of the coolest illusions throughout the entire ride. Behind Mike and Sully is a door that opens into a vast room, but we can clearly see behind the door as we turn the corner. Despite being so effective, this effect is simply achieved with mirrors and clever perspective of the room. These walls here are mirrors that reflect these walls, which gives the impression of a room of impossible size. We turn the corner once more to encounter an interactive audio animatronic of Roz. This Roz works similar to the animatronic found at the end of Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue, where Roz will riff on the guests and make remarks about them. After this, the ride experience comes to an end, and you exit through a gift shop. Despite being similar to the Monsters, Inc. attraction found at Disney's California Adventure, many regard this as the definitive Monsters, Inc. attraction. It faithfully recreates many scenes and locations from the movie with hyper-realistic qualities. Mark Schirmer, Imagineering executive creative producer, remarked that the biggest challenge revolved around creating an actual city environment, complete with two-way traffic and a space wide enough and tall enough that the buildings themselves were almost as tall as those found on Main Street, USA. He remarked at how many effects they were ultimately able to cram into such an attraction, and honestly, it is a bit overwhelming, but not in a bad way. These blink and you'll miss it effects provide the perfect reason to experience this attraction over and over to truly take it all in. And in true Tokyo Disney fashion, they created a unique character for this ride called Rocky that can be seen multiple times covered in orange fur with their own unique helmet. Reopening after a lengthy refurbishment on the last day of our visit to Tokyo Disney Resort, we thankfully had the opportunity to experience this attraction, and it did not disappoint. You could easily do this ride 3 or 4 times and still experience new things. It does feel strange to not rack up any points unlike Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, but I like that it's not trying to be the same concept and instead attempts something different, which it achieves. It sits with Journey to the Center of the Earth and Pooh's Honey Hunt as a don't miss addition to the Tokyo Disney Resort. But, over to you. Have you had the chance to experience this attraction, and what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below, and feel free to leave a like. Your engagement truly does more than you realize. For Review Time, I'm Dom. Thanks for watching.